Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The rain was falling heavily on the streets of New York, turning the sidewalks into shimmering mirrors reflecting the neon lights of shop windows and the hurried passage of passers-by. Umbrellas formed a multicolored field, but two small figures, soaked to the bone, sat on the edge of the sidewalk, oblivious to the biting cold. Ethan Parker, a millionaire known for his investments and his taste in art, was crossing the park adjacent to his office building. It wasn't his usual time to walk the streets, but that day, a cancelled appointment had forced him to travel on foot. That's when he spotted them, twin sisters, Emily and Lily, clutching a small kitten as if to shield themselves from the world. The kitten meowed faintly, its round, startled eyes reflecting fear and pain, and the girls waved a soggy sign that read by hand, "For sale, kitten. Only $5." Their hands trembled, not only from the cold, but also from the tension of a situation they never wanted to be in. Ethan felt his heart sink. He slowed his pace, observed the fragile resolve of the two children, and noticed the dark circles under their eyes, signs of a sleepless night worrying about their mother. The man who was used to negotiating millions and making business decisions in a split second suddenly felt completely powerless in the face of this scene. He knelt slowly, the rain streaming down his dark coat, and asked gently, "Girls, why are you selling this kitten?" Emily looked up, surprised by the kindness in the man's voice, then whispered in a trembling voice, We owe money for our mother's hospital." Lily lowered her eyes, biting her lip to stifle her sobs. Ethan understood that this wasn't simply a matter of material need, but a desperate race against time and illness. His heart sank even deeper. He knew he had to act, but he wanted to do so tactfully, without upsetting the children or stripping them of their dignity. The wind picked up, whipping the girls' wet hair, and Ethan knew in that precise moment that his life had just crossed paths with theirs for a reason. And that this tiny, fragile, innocent kitten was the symbol of a bond that would soon change this family's destiny forever. The rain continued to fall in silver curtains, but Ethan remained kneeling by the binoculars, his shoes soaked and his coat clinging to his skin. He gazed at the small kitten nestled against Emily. Its green eyes shone with worry, but also with a fragile courage that deeply moved him. "What is your name?" he asked softly. "Emily, and this is Lily," replied the taller girl, her voice trembling. She clutched the kitten to her chest as if she could protect it from all danger. "And your mommy?" Ethan lowered his voice so as not to frighten the kitten. Emily looked down. "She's sick, in the hospital, the treatment is too expensive." Lily nodded silently, her fingers gripping the kitten's damp coat. Ethan felt a mixture of anger and sadness. He knew about the inequalities of life, but seeing two little girls, barely 10 years old, selling a kitten in the pouring rain to pay for medical treatment, made his heart ache. "How much exactly do you need?" he asked, trying to hide his own emotion. $200, just $200 for Mom to receive her treatment," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. Ethan took out his wallet, but stopped short. Giving the money now would solve the immediate problem, but he wanted to understand the situation, to know what had driven these girls to such an extreme. "Emily, Lily. I want to help you. But I want to understand how we can do this properly." The twins exchanged a surprised look. They weren't used to adults taking the time to listen to them. Their eyes filled with tears, and Lily whispered, "No one has ever listened to us." Ethan felt his heart sink even more. The rain was falling on them, but for a moment, the world seemed to stop around them. He knew that a simple gesture could change their lives, and he wanted that gesture to be more than a gift, he wanted to give them hope. "Okay," said Ethan, gently wiping the rain from the kitten's face. "Show me your mom, and I promise we'll find a solution." Emily and Lily exchanged a shy smile, a glimmer of hope beginning to shine in their tired eyes. For the first time in weeks, they felt that help might actually come. Ethan invited the twins to walk with him under the large umbrella he held out to them. Water trickled down his dark coat, but he felt neither cold nor uncomfortable. His attention was entirely focused on the two little girls, whose fragility and courage deeply moved him. "Tell me about your mother," he said softly. "What happened?" Emily took a deep breath, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Mom, she got sick a few months ago. It's her heart, and the doctor says she needs very special treatment, but it's too expensive for us." Lily nodded, her small hand squeezing Emily's. "Dad, he left a long time ago, so we have to manage on our own." Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. These two brave little souls had had to endure so much, and yet here they were, selling a soaking wet kitten to try and save their mother. He understood that this precise moment was much more than a chance encounter, it was a turning point in their lives. "How much exactly do you need for the treatment?" he asked again, although he suspected the answer. Emily murmured, $200, just for her to start treatment. Ethan took out his wallet, ready to hand over the money immediately, but he stopped. Giving the money would solve the immediate problem, certainly, but he wanted to offer something more lasting. Something that would truly change their lives, without making them feel dependent on the charity of a stranger. "Listen. I can help you," Ethan said finally, his eyes meeting those of the twins. "I'll take care of your mom and you. But I want you to promise me one thing: keep going to school, stick together, and never lose hope." Emily and Lily looked at each other in disbelief. You're really going to help us?" Emily whispered. "Yes," Ethan replied with a genuine smile. "But first, we need to understand exactly what you need and how we're going to achieve it." The twins exchanged a shy smile, and for the first time in weeks, a little light seemed to pierce their dark sky. Even in the rain, a fragile but powerful hope had just been born. Ethan knew then that he could no longer back down. It wasn't simply an act of kindness, it was a promise to change the lives of these girls, and perhaps even their entire family. Ethan led the twins to a small nearby cafe, where they could sit out of the rain. The warm atmosphere and the aroma of freshly ground coffee seemed to momentarily ward off the harsh reality weighing on the girls' shoulders. The kitten, nestled in Emily's coat, looked around with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Now, tell me everything," Ethan said softly. "I want to understand how you came to sell a kitten." Emily took a deep breath. "Mom, Karen, she's always been strong. But a few months ago, she started having serious heart problems. The doctor said she needed special treatment, something very expensive." Lily sniffed and added, "Dad, he's gone. He left us all alone. We tried asking for help, but no one answered." Ethan felt his heart clench. He now saw the weight of responsibility on those little shoulders. They were not only facing the fear of losing their mother, but also the harsh reality of surviving alone in a merciless world. "And the kitten?" asked Ethan. "Why sell it?" Emily looked down. "We just to help a little. We thought if we sold the kitten, we could pay for part of the treatment, but it's never enough." Silence fell for a moment, broken only by the sound of rain against the cafe windows. Ethan reflected, these girls didn't just deserve a charitable act. They deserved safety, hope, and a stable future. "I understand," he said finally, his voice full of determination. "And I want to help you. Not just today, not just with a few dollars, but so that you can be safe, so that your mother can receive the treatment, and so that you can continue to live your childhood." The twins' eyes filled with tears. Emily whispered, Are you serious?" "More than ever," Ethan replied. "But there's one condition: you must trust me and accept my help with anything you need." Lily smiled shyly, and for the first time in a long time, a weight seemed to lift from their shoulders. They had found an unexpected ally, someone who could transform their despair into hope. Ethan, for his part, knew that this encounter was not insignificant. He felt that he had been placed in their path for a reason, and that this wet little kitten and these two courageous twins were going to change his own life, just as much as he was going to change theirs. After their conversation at the cafe, Ethan went outside for a walk with the twins under his umbrella. The rain had eased, but the city was still damp and gray. He watched the girls, trying to imagine their daily lives before this encounter. How could two children, so young, with so much responsibility on their shoulders, be confronted with such a reality? Ethan felt a simmering anger rising within him. How could the system abandon these children to face illness and poverty alone? But this anger was mingled with compassion and an irresistible desire to protect them. He realized that a simple donation wasn't enough, a solution was needed that would truly change their lives. Emily. Lily, he said softly, I know what I'm about to propose sounds strange, but I want you to know one thing, you are not alone. You have never been alone. The girls exchanged a look, incredulous. Their lives until now had been marked by isolation and injustice. The mere fact that a rich and powerful adult was speaking to them with sincerity seemed almost unreal. You were incredible, Ethan continued, his voice trembling despite himself. You did everything you could to protect your mom, and that kitten, he pointed at Lucky, who was starting to play with his wet fingers. But now it's my turn. Emily murmured, but, you don't even know us, why are you helping us? Ethan smiled sadly. Sometimes, there are encounters that change everything. And I believe you and that little kitten found me for a reason. I can't stand by when you need help so much. The rain was slowly ceasing, and the light from the street lamps reflected off the wet cobblestones. For the first time in a long time, the girls felt a weight lift. Their despair was beginning to transform into hope, fragile but real. Ethan knew he had to act quickly. He had to find a solution for Karen's treatment, for their safety, and so that these children could continue to live their childhood. But he also knew that every action had to be taken with care and respect, so as not to shatter their fragile trust. As they walked together, he began to formulate a plan. It wasn't just about money, but about stability, care, and love. And he was determined to do everything in his power so that these girls and their mother could finally breathe without fear. The next morning, Ethan woke up with renewed determination. He couldn't wait any longer. After contacting the hospital and obtaining all the information about Karen's treatment, he returned to the park where he had met the twins the day before. Emily and Lily were already there, the wet kitten resting in a small blanket lent to them by a compassionate passerby. The girls seemed surprised to see it so early, but curiosity and hope shone in their tired eyes. Hello girls, said Ethan with a warm smile. I've spoken with your mom and the doctors. I know exactly what she needs. The twins looked at each other, hesitant, as if they still couldn't believe it was real. You're really going to help us? Emily asked, her voice trembling. Ethan knelt down and placed a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. Yes. But it's not just about money. I want you to know you can count on me for everything. Your mother's treatment will be fully paid for. I'll make sure she has everything she needs to heal, and that you're safe and sound. Lily let out a sob of relief. But, why are you doing this for us? Because sometimes life puts us in touch with those who need help, Ethan replied. And you and this little kitten, you found me for a reason. He pointed to Lucky, who was playing with his fingers. And Lucky, I think he's going to stay with you as long as he makes you happy and comforts you. Emily and Lily almost threw themselves into his arms, crying with joy and relief. The fear and despair that had accompanied them until now seemed to melt away under the warmth of this unexpected act of kindness. Ethan, despite his wealth and experience in the business world, felt overwhelmed by an emotion he had almost never experienced, the power of a sincere gesture to radically change someone's life. He knew that this encounter was not just an act of charity, but the beginning of a bond that would transform all their destinies. He gently took Lucky in his arms again and said, "Listen to me carefully. I'll take care of everything, but I want you to make a promise, continue your schooling, stick together, and never lose hope, no matter what happens." The twins nodded, hugging the kitten as if to etch the moment into their memories. For the first time in a long time, they felt truly protected, loved, and supported. And Ethan knew, deep down, that this encounter would change not only their lives, but his own as well. A few days later, Karen, the twins' mother, received a call from the hospital. The treatment she had been waiting for weeks was now covered, thanks to discreet funding that guaranteed her confidentiality. She didn't yet know who had paid, but her heart swelled with a hope she hadn't felt in a long time. Ethan invited the twins to come see him at his office, to reassure them and show them that their mother would be in good hands. Emily and Lily arrived, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension on their faces. They were still young, but the fear that had gripped them for months seemed to have dissipated somewhat. "Your mom is doing well," Ethan told them, smiling. "She starts her treatment today, and everything will be monitored by the best doctors. You can breathe a little easier now." The girls threw themselves into her arms, crying silently. Thank you so much," Emily whispered. Ethan placed a hand on the twins' backs, trying to convey all the warmth and comfort he could. "It's not just a thank you need to give me," he said softly. "I want you to be happy and safe. I want you to be able to continue your childhood without this constant fear." Then he took out his phone to arrange long-term support. A social worker would be assigned to monitor the family, ensure they had stable housing, and that Karen received all her treatments on time. Ethan took care of every detail: food, school, medical follow-up, and even activities so the girls could rediscover some joy and carefree moments. Meanwhile, Lucky, the little kitten, rubbed against the twins' legs, providing a reassuring and calming presence. He quickly became a symbol of their newfound security and the renewed love within the family. As the sun began to break through the clouds after several days of rain, Ethan felt an inner peace he had never known. The girls' relief and Karen's restored smile comforted him more than any investment or professional success. For the first time, he understood that sometimes the greatest changes in life come not from money, but from human connection and compassion. And at that precise moment, under the nascent rays of the sun, Ethan knew that his meeting with Emily, Lily, and Lucky had marked the beginning of a new life for all of them. A few weeks passed since Ethan's intervention. The twins had begun to return to a more normal routine. They went to school, came home to find their mother rested, and Lucky, the kitten, accompanied them everywhere. But it wasn't just physical safety that changed their daily lives, it was trust and human warmth that gradually took root. Ethan had made a habit of inviting them to his office some afternoons. He wanted to show them a world they had never imagined: the large glass-walled rooms, the works of art, the screens filled with numbers and ideas. But he didn't want to impress them with his money. He wanted to teach them the importance of perseverance, curiosity, and responsibility. "Look at this," said Ethan one afternoon, pointing to a modern painting. "Art is like life. Sometimes you have to take risks, make mistakes, and keep moving forward." Emily and Lily listened attentively, fascinated. They were intelligent, full of questions, and Ethan found himself smiling at each one. Their enthusiasm was contagious, and he felt he was learning as much from them as they were from him. But there were also gentler, almost intimate moments. Ethan would sometimes catch them smiling or laughing together, or stroking Lucky when he fell asleep on their laps. These little scenes reminded him of what truly mattered. Life wasn't just about success or wealth, but about connections, love, and shared moments. One evening, as he was walking them home to their mothers after a day at the office, Emily said timidly, "Mr. Ethan, thank you for everything you do for us." Ethan smiled and replied, "Call me Ethan. And I'm not doing anything extraordinary. I'm just doing what everyone should do when someone needs help." Lily, more mischievously, added, "But no one has ever been there for us before, except you." These words touched Ethan deeply. He realized that his role in their lives went far beyond financial support. He was becoming a point of reference, a guide, and a friend. And this responsibility, which he hadn't anticipated, filled him with a new and powerful emotion. For the twins, Ethan wasn't just a wealthy, mysterious adult who had saved their mother. He was a stable figure in a world that had often been unpredictable and cruel. And for Ethan, these two little girls and their kitten Lucky were becoming a family he never knew he wanted. As night fell on New York, illuminated by the lights of the buildings and the reflections on the wet sidewalks, Ethan felt a deep certainty: this encounter was not a coincidence. It would transform their lives, and his own, in a lasting and unexpected way. Lucky, the little kitten, had become much more than just a pet to the twins. He was their loyal companion, their comfort in moments of worry, and a tangible link to the security they had regained thanks to Ethan. Every morning, Emily and Lily would run to feed him, pet him, and play with him, and Ethan never failed to smile when he saw them laughing again. One afternoon, as the three of them were walking in the park where it had all begun, Lily stopped abruptly. Lucky had vanished from her arms. The kitten had darted behind a bush, startled by a dog that had passed too close. The girls panicked. Emily frantically searched around, calling the kitten, Lucky. Ethan intervened calmly, kneeling down to look under the bushes. "He's not lost," he said, his voice reassuring. "He's just scared. We'll get him back together." As he carefully picked up Lucky, he felt the moment become symbolic. This fragile kitten, rescued from danger, represented the twins' resilience, their courage in the face of adversity, and the protection Ethan offered them. Once Lucky was in his arms, he gently handed him to Emily and Lily, who burst with joy. "You see," said Ethan, smiling, "sometimes all it takes is staying calm and paying attention to save what we hold dear." Emily stroked Lucky and whispered, "Thank you, Ethan, for everything. If you weren't here, I don't know what we would have done." Lily added, more seriously, "Lucky is our symbol now. He reminds us that even in the scariest moments, there is always someone to help us." Ethan felt a special warmth fill his heart. He realized that his role was no longer just that of a benefactor or a mentor. He was part of their world, and this responsibility was becoming more precious than any professional or financial success. As they continued their walk, Lucky trotting happily beside them, Ethan knew that this little kitten had changed far more than just the twins' lives. He had changed his own, too. And he silently promised himself that as long as Lucky was there, no one and nothing would disturb the safety and happiness of this new and fragile family. The weeks passed, and life for Karen and her daughters finally seemed to settle down. Their medical treatment was progressing well, and Emily and Lily were gradually regaining their smiles. Ethan continued to support them discreetly, ensuring they had everything they needed while respecting their privacy and dignity. But one afternoon, when Ethan came to visit them, he noticed unusual activity outside their building. Men in suits, clearly insistent, were demanding to speak to Karen. Intrigued and suspicious, Ethan approached and quickly realized they were agents from an insurance company questioning the treatment's coverage. Their tone was cold and authoritarian, and their persistence began to worry the twins. Emily slipped behind Ethan, while Lily held Lucky tightly against her. "What's going on?" asked Emily, her voice trembling. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on their shoulders. "Don't worry. I'll take care of everything." Inside, he calmly confronted the agents, showing them the documents and evidence that the treatment was properly covered. But their continued insistence showed that bureaucracy could still become a dangerous obstacle to the family's safety. Ethan felt a cold anger rising within him. He knew that the slightest delay or refusal could put Karen in danger. After an hour of negotiations and procedures, Ethan finally obtained written and definitive confirmation of his medical coverage. The agents left, frustrated and powerless in the face of his determination. Once outside, he turned to the binoculars, who were looking at him with eyes still wide with fear. "Everything's all right now," he said softly. "You see? Even when there are obstacles, there's always a solution." Emily hugged Lucky tightly and whispered, "Thank you, you never let us down." Ethan smiled and replied, "I promised I would be there. And I will always keep that promise." This episode reminded everyone that, despite help and support, life remained fragile. But it also strengthened the bond between Ethan and the twins. They understood that he was not just a benefactor, he had become a constant presence, a pillar in their uncertain world. And Ethan, for his part, understood that this family needed him as much as he needed them. This bond, forged in the storm and despair, was now indestructible, ready to face any trials to come. A few months had passed since Ethan's encounter with the twins in the rain. Karen, the mother, had successfully completed her treatment. Her face, once marked by fatigue and worry, now radiated with renewed health. The girls, Emily and Lily, resumed their daily lives with carefree joy, while Lucky bounded happily around them, a living symbol of their resilience and newfound security. Ethan, always present in the background, had taken care of every detail, stable housing for the family, attentive academic support for the girls, and continuity of care for Karen. But what mattered most was the bond that had formed between them. It was no longer just a matter of money or charity, it was a true family, built on trust, respect, and love. One sunny afternoon, Ethan invited the twins and Karen to the park where it had all begun. Lucky ran ahead of them, carefree and happy. Emily turned to Ethan and said, "You've changed our lives, Ethan, truly." Ethan smiled, his eyes shining. "No, girls, you've changed me too. You've reminded me that life isn't just about success or wealth. It's about connections, compassion, and shared moments." Lily, holding Lucky in her arms, added, "And now we know that there is always hope, even when everything seems impossible." Karen approached and placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Thank you for believing in us when we were at our lowest point. You saved my life, and my daughter's lives." Ethan felt a profound emotion wash over him. Everything he had done had paid off. Not only was Karen better, but the twins were enjoying a happy childhood again, and he himself had found a deeper meaning in his life. As they watched the sun set, illuminating the park with its golden rays, Ethan realized that sometimes true happiness lies not in millions or possessions, but in the chance to transform someone's life, and to witness their smile return. Emily, Lily, and Karen moved closer to him, Lucky nestled between them. For the first time in a long time, no one was afraid of tomorrow. The future looked bright, full of promise and possibility. And Ethan knew, deep down, that this encounter in the rain would be etched in his memory forever, as the moment everything changed for the better.